Hey everybody, just wanted to take a few seconds of your time before the podcast starts. Just wanted to let you know about a passion project of mine for the last 3 years called Hustle Focused Energy. It's a powdered drink mix intended to help you focus and accomplish your goals. Super excited to bring this to market. Go check it out, hustletheday.com. And thank you so much for listening. On this episode of the Hustle the Day podcast, I have Eddie Thomason. Eddie has a full-time job. He is a speaker, an author. He's involved in a network marketing company. He also drives Uber and Lyft. And on top of all that, he just started a woodworking company. Very fascinating individual, fascinating story. Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hustle the Day podcast. My name is Trent. Super excited to have been connected to Eddie Thomason. Eddie, why don't you jump in here? Tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit of your story.
Awesome, Trent. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm so excited to be here. Shout out to Thomas McMahon for putting us together, bro. I think this is going to be a dope conversation. Yeah, man, I'm excited to dive into this thing. So just to give people a little bit of an idea of who I am, like Trent already said, I'm Eddie Thomason. I'm a youth inspirational speaker, primarily in the college and high school markets. I just love to help kids shed self-limiting beliefs so they can pursue a life that they're passionate about living. So I know we're going to talk all about inside this episode how I do that. So Trent, thanks again, man. I'm excited to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, no, I think you barely touched on what you do. I mean, obviously that is a big part of what you do, but as we were talking beforehand, I already dug into your story a little bit, and like you mentioned, Thomas McMahon connected us, and you were on his podcast, and you dove into a little bit there, and it was like I still had no idea, like a tenth of the things you were doing. That's like, wow, this guy is like the definition of hustle. So,
right. So how about I give somebody a quick list, right? I'll give people a quick list of what I do. Just so they know what the heck is going on, I guess, in the life of Eddie Thomason. But I think, like I told you before, first and foremost, I'm a husband and I'm a father. I think that's the two most important things that I am in life. Then outside of that, obviously, I'm a business owner. So I told you I'm an inspirational speaker. I am working a 9-to-5 right now currently. So I'm in sales. I'm also driving Uber a little bit on the weekends. Me and my wife own a business together as well inside the network marketing industry. So, and I also do a little bit of woodworking. So I sell a little bit of furniture and stuff on the side. So I think, like you said before, I'm taking your words. The definition of hustle is in my MO. Yeah,
no kidding. That's no small feat there. I mean, I've got 3 kids. You've got 2 kids, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're little
so,
guys.
I mean, that's
18 months and 5 months.
Yeah. Believe me, I know how busy that is. I've got an 18-month-old, and it's busy, and I don't have the 5-month-old thrown in there too. So
it's a lot of joy.
Yeah, for sure. So your big thing is breaking curses. That's part of your your youth speaking platform is you're breaking generational curses. Can you talk a little bit about your background and where that idea came in?
Definitely, my man. So, again, I'm going to give a little bit of context because I hate giving content without context, right? So I was born and raised down in Baltimore, Maryland, born into a family that struggled with poverty for generations, right? I mean, my dad left when I was about 8 or 9 years old, which forced my mom to take care of me and my brother on the $13,000 a year disability income, right? So when you're looking at the poverty line, we live like down here, right? So it was definitely an interesting place to grow up, obviously being in Baltimore. And then from there, be honest with you, I thought I only had 3 options to create any type of financial success in life, right? I thought I could be some type of professional athlete. I thought I could be some type of entertainer, so rapper, dancer, singer, something like that, or sell drugs. Like I thought that was my only 3 options to be successful and make it anywhere, right? So I chose option 1. I thought that was like my MO. I was a football player. I wanted to go play in the league. I'm repping my Bryant football shirt right now, but that's why I went and got my scholarship up and played at Bryant University. But long story short, I became the first student in my high school to ever earn a D1 scholarship in the school's history, right? So that was a huge thing, huge win for the family, huge win for what I felt as though my environment, my community, because it kind of sparked a belief of hope, right? Like it's actually possible in this area. And then because of that scholarship, I became the first male in my family to ever earn any type of university degree, right? So that thought process of being a generational curse breaker is based all around this belief of it doesn't matter the environment that you were born in. It doesn't matter the family that you were born into. You can go and create the success in life that you want to create. You just have to be willing to do some work. And obviously you have to be exposed to some different opportunities and not just think inside of this one box, right? So my entire mindset, man, is like I talked about before. I'm helping people shed those self-limiting beliefs, like that core belief that I had, like I only had those 3 options. I'm helping them shed those beliefs so they can really pursue a life that they're passionate about living.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That speaks, I think, perfectly to, my audience of people who are in a 9 to 5 that, they just keep thinking, if only this, or if I had this, or, if this situation was different.
Yep.
They have those self-limiting beliefs. How do you help people kind of overcome those self-limiting beliefs?
Exactly. So I think it's a pure change in mindset, right? Like obviously we both know at this point, we've interviewed different people on our podcast about success principles and thought process and everything else. And success starts in the mind, man. Like you got to first change over in your mind this thought of like when you think what if, you typically go towards negative stuff, right? And I talk about that inside of my book all the time. It's like, you think like, oh, what if I fail? Or what if I'm too old to start this business? Or what if I don't have enough income? Or what if I run out of income, right? All these things you start coming in your head. Well, what if you thought about it in the best possible solutions? Like, what if you started your business and it actually made you $250,000 a year in take-home revenue, right? What if you started your business and now you left a legacy for your family for generations to come? Like, start thinking about the positive things that can happen and not just the negative side. Like, stop just playing devil's advocate at all times, right? It's just not going to make you successful at all. So I think that's the primary thing that you need to start doing is instead of thinking what if fail, start thinking what if and win, right? So it's very simple to talk about, very much more difficult to do. But one of the things that I would recommend is an activity that you can do every single time is think about when you're saying what if, right? And whatever statement proceeds from your mouth, add the additional phrase at the end of it. And that's exactly how I want it to be. So like, for example, if you're thinking to yourself like, man, what if I'm too old to start this business? And that's exactly how I want it to be. If that's not true with what you are saying out of your mouth or thinking inside of your head, you're going to have to change that phrase, right? You got to start speaking something different because it's not consistent with what you actually want to manifest in life, right? So you need to change that statement from, I am going to start this business no matter how old I am and it's going to be successful, right? It may sound very rudimentary or sound like hoopla, but we all know about speaking and speaking into the world what you want to happen and then it actually come into fruition because you're manifesting it with your mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% believe in that. And so, you know what, that it is difficult to kind of teach that for somebody who has had those limiting beliefs their whole life. But you know what, you're a perfect example of somebody who can overcome that. And that's awesome that you were able to do that. So, you've proven the generational curse as something that is something you can overcome as long as you have the mindset and the understanding that there are options out there for you. So Absolutely. How is it that you show those options to people that, may be in the same situation you were in your past?
So that's a great question, Trent. And I think it boils down to, I try to help people see opportunities instead of dwelling on problems, right? So I tell people to seek opportunities instead of dwelling on problems, right? Because you get in life exactly what you see, right? What you expect is what you get. You don't get what you want, you get what you expect. So if you keep on thinking to yourself, like my expectation is that I can only be successful if I'm an athlete, or I can only be successful if I'm a rapper, or I can only be successful if I sell drugs, then that's the only opportunities you're going to see around you, right? That's the only thing you see. However, if you start training your mind to think like, and stop asking, I got to go off on a little rant because I hate when people ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Because I think it's one of the dumbest questions that you can ask a kid because they kind of just like, you don't know, right? Like, you really don't know what you want to be. You're kind of like, oh, I don't know, I'll be a doctor. Or I'll be, you say something to impress somebody else that's asking you the question, right? Instead of answering that question as a kid, I want you to answer the question, what do I want my life to look like, right? And if you're a young professional, you're trying to get into start your side hustle and everything else, think about it in the next 5, 10, 15 years, right? What do you want your life to look like next 5, 10, 15 years? And I want you to paint a very vivid picture for me, right? Like down to the T, like the house that you live in. What's your family size look like now, right? Are you married with kids if you're single right now? Are you, if you're married already and you don't have kids, you have kids, like paint a vivid picture for me, right? And then here's what I want you to do. Like, how do you want to spend your time? Because that's the number one thing you really got to figure out. Like, if you're going to be married with kids, whatever else, do you want to spend a majority of your time still working? Do you want to spend a majority of your time with family, right? Doing the things that you want to do with your family and everything else. And then you need to start making decisions on what vehicle is going to get you to that picture you just painted, right? So a lot of the times people think to themselves like, oh, you're force-fed this whole thought process, right? We're all going through the same thing. I don't know about you, Trent, but I was taught the same thing when I was a kid, is go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, right? Like that's everybody's universal way of becoming successful. However, I took that route. And then when I got onto the other side, I was like, well, this doesn't actually produce the life that I want to live, right? It doesn't look the same because I got to give away 8 hours of my day to somebody that I really don't even care about if their vision comes to fruition or not, right? And I know that sounds harsh, but that's really what it is. When you're working for a corporation, you're working for somebody else's dream, somebody else's vision. I can't leave a legacy behind by passing along a position to my kids. It's just not going to work out, right? So I started looking at, okay, what vehicles allows me to get to that vision, that end goal that I wanted to have. And it started becoming on this journey of entrepreneurship, man. Like I've learned that you can only create wealth by working for yourself. You can't create wealth by working for wealthy people, right? So you got to start figuring out that thought process. And okay, if that's the case, what vehicle that I want to get into? And we talked about a little bit before we started recording network marketing. And that was my first dive into real entrepreneurship and figuring out how business works and everything else. And it exposed me to so many different books and so many different things that started to open my mind to all these different opportunities and what was available and personal growth, because I learned the better I can build myself and build the values and skill sets that I have, the more valuable I become to other people and different organizations and even my own organizations and my relationships, right? With my wife and with my mom and different people. So I know that's a little, like I said, it's a little bit of a rant, but I think, coming back to this thought process of how do you basically get to that point of looking and seeing opportunities? It's all about the mindset that you have, the perspective that you have. Stop thinking about what you want to be and start figuring out what you want your life to look like. Because when you figure out what you want your life to look like, you'll figure out who you need to become, right? And then once you become that person, you start to live that life that you said that you wanted to have, right? And you start to see all the opportunities and stuff that are around you, because now your mind is focused on solutions instead of dwelling on this is my only option. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that is incredible. I love that whole rant you just went on. That was perfect. Like, no, there's
that was
one
definitely
thing
not in the notes, but it came out. Yeah. I was like, I gotta say it. It came out of nowhere.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's what this is about, dude. Let's just have the conversation. But you said something that really stuck out to me. You're never going to get wealthy working for someone else. You're only going to get wealthy working for yourself, rather than working for somebody who's wealthy. And so that is a great quote. I mean, a lot of people are looking for that wealth, whether that's financially, whether that's through their family, through their time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's looking for that thing and you know what? That's a big part of entrepreneurship, is being able to create your situation rather than, feel like you're stuck in a situation. Obviously, you can create your own world within that situation. Within your 9 to 5, you're able to create this ability to do all these other things that you're passionate about, while it helps support your future goals at the same time, which is awesome. And a lot of people don't have that mindset. It's, me personally, I'm kind of the opposite in the fact that it's like, oh, I'm not getting fulfillment out of this 9 to 5. Let's go off to my own thing.
Right.
Which is not always the smartest thing.
Hey, listen, I'm a firm believer. So I feel like, there's a lot of people out here today, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of different, different speakers, and they'll communicate you need to quit what you're doing and go all in on, like what, your dream, your goal, whatever else, right? And it's true to an extent, right? Like I feel like sometimes people take advice from people who are speaking to the masses, and it doesn't apply to you, right? Like, so if you're a married man, right, with 2 kids and no savings, right, and somebody told you like, oh, I got this passion, I want to be a woodworker, and you spend your last of your money on woodworking, and then you're going to work the next day and say like, hey, I quit, right? Like, I don't think that's the best decision for you, right? Because you didn't solidify anything yet. You put your family in a much difficult position to eat, right? Have some type of shelter. So my mentality is use what you have to do the best that you can, right? So I think there's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5 in order to provide the quote unquote stability, right? I say quote unquote because there's never stability but a 9-to-5. I think COVID-19 definitely taught all of us that, right? But quote unquote stability for like, you can count on this check coming in. So then that way you can reinvest whatever is extra inside of that check, right? Because I was always taught to live below my means so that I have extra, so I can reinvest that extra back into my dream, my goal, my vision, right? And then once you start making enough income that it overshadows what you are doing inside of your 9-to-5 and everything else, now you can make that decision to say like, hey, I quit. But I think a lot of people do that entirely too prematurely, and then they fail, it's immediately, 2-3 months, because they're also expecting, their mindset has not been changed yet. So they're expecting like, oh, I've been doing this thing for 2 months. I ain't getting no results. I guess I got to go back to corporate America. Like, no, bro, that's not how business works. You got to put in time for months and months, sometimes even years, before you start seeing any type of return on that investment, right? It's not like you go to work and it's a linear thing. Like, oh, I did my 40 hours, pay me my check. That's not how entrepreneurship is. And I think that's the primary thing that most people have to make that click, that shift in their mind. Because if you don't, you fail before you even start, man. Like if you're trying to just get paid based off of the hours you put into your business, hey, bro, it's going to be a long road to hoe for you.
That is 100% true. It is not linear. Like you said, that is for sure. And it is not an hourly job. It is put in a lot of hours for nothing to hopefully later get a return on those hours. But
exactly. Yep. Yeah. I tell people all the time, it's have you ever read The Slight Edge? I haven't. His name is Jeff Olson, I think his name is. If you haven't read The Slight Edge, have you ever heard of The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy?
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
So I don't know if The Slight Edge actual chart is inside of that book, but I know The Slight Edge itself is a phenomenal concept. But it's basically this thought process. I'm sitting at my desk right now, so I'm going to see if I can draw this and show it on the screen for people that are at least going to be viewing this, right?
Yeah.
Boom, right? So this side is success, and then this side is failure, right? And then this guy in the middle is time. So for people that are listening, obviously, because I know you're going to put this out on some different listening platforms, I'm trying to explain this as best as I can. But if you can't figure this out, just look up Slight Edge on Google. It's going to bring up exactly what I'm talking about. But Jeff Olson is awesome for this concept, man. He talks about this thought process of the slight edge of small, consistent habits compounded over time, right? Because let's be honest. Success is as simple as this statement alone. It's positive decisions consistently over time is going to produce success, period, right? And the exact opposite is true for failure. Negative decisions compounded over time consistently is going to create failure, right? So when you look at this little continuum, I don't know if you for people that are looking at this overall, but you can see that over time stays consistent, man. It's the only thing that stays the same, other than death and taxes, right? Time is time. But if you start making small positive decisions over time, what's going to happen is like, for month maybe 1 through 3, it's going to seem like nothing's happening, right? It's just this very flat curve. You're like, bro, what the heck? I don't know why I'm still doing this. This makes no sense. I'm a freaking idiot. What the heck am I doing, right? And then it's like out of nowhere, though. Maybe it might be 6 months down the road. It might be 9 months down the road. It could be 10 years down the road, right? But what's going to happen is instead of you getting this linear growth, it's going to be this huge bell curve, this dip that swings you high in the other direction. And you're going to go from like, I think I'm an idiot to what the F, bro? Like, I don't understand how I can get paid this much for doing as little as I do, right? And that's really how business works. It's like this crazy curve that pops up out of nowhere. But the same thing is true on the other side, right? Let's say it's something as small as your positive decision that you make compounded over time. It's just you listening to a podcast every single day, a success podcast on how you can develop your mindset. In day 1, day 2, day 3 is going to be no change. But if you listen to something positive every single day, maybe to start your day, right? And you do that over a 6-month time frame, I guarantee you're either going to be up for a promotion in your job or you're going to start a new side hustle by yourself because now it's already up there in your mind. You know what you want to do next, right? That's compounded over time. That decision happening over time. But say it's the opposite side, right? Say you just decide, I don't know, something simple. You ate a bag of chips. You ate an extra bag of chips every single day for the next 6 months, right? Well, I think this is one of the easiest ones to look at because you can see it. It's tangible. The first day you eat those chips, you're like, oh, bro, I don't care. Nothing's going to happen. Second day you eat the chips, nothing's going to happen. Third week you eat the chips, nothing's going to happen. 2 months into eating these chips, you see an extra 5 pounds, right? Then 6 months into eating these chips, you borderline obese, right? And you start to see your health start to deteriorate. And then 2 years, let's say it's 2 years down the road, you're like, bro, how did I go from, slim fit, I was in the best shape of my life to fat dad bod? Like, what the heck happened, right? Like, so I think that is the simplest way. You think about this slight edge mentality. Success is just small positive decisions compounded over time. So as much as you can get that into your brain and start figuring out what those decisions are, what those habits are, what things that you can start doing right now that's going to lead to dividends paying off in the future, then that's when you want to start making those decisions now so it can pay off for you later.
Yeah. I feel like you just personally attacked a three-year removed version of me, because I used to be that person where it was like, oh, just a little bit here, no big deal,
Yep.
no big deal, no, wait, what happened?
Hey, bro, I feel you because I'm on the outswing of that decision making. I was eating like a bag of M&Ms. I wouldn't say it was every day. It was probably like once every 3 or 4 days. And then my wife pointed out to me at one point, she was just like, those small things add up. And I was like, God dang it. I guess I need to start making some different decisions.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate it. I mean, me and my wife have a really unique relationship where we call each other out on our bull crap. So, and we don't get offended about it. I mean, we might initially be like, but at the same time, you're so right. So I love you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. No, that I will look into the slight edge, but yeah, that does go along really well with the compound effect, or even James Clear's Atomic Habits. Just making those little. He just talks about making these minuscule changes, and it's like at a year, you might be 1% better, but if you went the other way, you might be 13% worse.
Exactly. Yep.
And so you know what? It's that curve, and it takes time, but
yep.
You know what? It happens for sure. So I want to step back a little bit, and you talked to just briefly about your network marketing experience. So
yep.
People that I've talked to that have been involved in network marketing and have been successful at it, I should say, the people that have, given it time and saw it through and didn't just call a bunch of people and then bounce when they didn't get a bunch of sales. They tend to be very successful in whatever venture they're doing, whether they're still doing network marketing. And I think that plays into kind of the persistence side of things. Can you speak to that at all?
Absolutely, man. So my personal experience with network marketing has been a positive one, to be honest with you. I know obviously the industry gets a lot of flack, and I know primarily because I've been reached out to some different people. I'm just like, bro, that sounds the sketchiest of all sketchies. Like, I'm definitely not doing that. Right. But I think it's all in the way of people approach things. So like, I appreciate the way that I was introduced to network marketing when I first moved into the Binghamton area. He's still one of my mentors today. His name is Evan Grubb. And, it was a very casual conversation. We just kind of chit-chatting about mindset, what I wanted to do in life and things like that. And I was then, exposed to the Amway business and different things from that perspective. But his entire approach is not beg and sell. At no point did he say like, hey, man, you need to be a part of my team, or post 1,000 things on Facebook and say you need to buy this product or anything else. Like that, I think that is the thing that gives the industry itself this very bad viewpoint, because people are being pushed at, right? Like, oh, buy this thing. It's like, make this decision or I hate you, right? And it's like, bro, that's very aggressive. I don't think I need none of that in my life, right? However, Evan's entire mindset is like, no, man, we're partnering with somebody to help them accomplish goals inside of their life. So his entire approach, when I sat down, I actually had to go through an interview process. I had to read a couple books before I even determined whether or not he wanted to spend time working with me, which was very different for me from my perspective of different people that reached out to me in the past. And it forced me to really take a deeper look at network marketing and what it is and what kind of lifestyle it can really create, right? So that was back in 2015. So I was 22 years old. I was just coming out of college, was introduced to this guy, and then started just basically creating. I was like, bro, look at this lifestyle this dude lives. He was 33 at the time. He came home every single day, 11, 12 o'clock, middle of the afternoon, played basketball with his sons, never went back to work, right? Wife ain't worked in the last 7 years. I was like, what the heck does this dude do, bro? Where I'm from, you selling drugs. Like, that ain't legal, right? Like, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. But as I started, again, developing a relationship with the dude, sitting down, grabbing coffee with him a couple times before I even seen details, information, I think it helped me solidify, like, okay, I see the life that this guy has. I see the fruit he has on the tree. I want to know more about what he does and how he does it. And he started telling me a little bit more about the business and how it works together. Primarily started helping me develop myself as a person, right? Like, if it wasn't for Evan and what he taught me, the books that he introduced me to when I was 22 years old, I definitely wouldn't have got married to the wife that I have today at 24, right? Because I was so immature. I was so I guess, still hung up on this stereotypical D1 athlete mentality and this basically cockiness, man, that I had in my own mind. And then I started to realize, like, okay, as he started exposing me to some different things, I started to learn how business works. I started to learn how to develop better people skills. I started to learn how to add value to myself and see value in myself, and not place that at an overvalue, right? And become that overconfident type of dude. So it was a few different things, man. It started revealing me to me, and that helped me become a better person, right? And then as that started to develop, it was like, okay, now I know I'm a better person. I know I'm better than this position that I'm in. I know I can earn more than just this. I call it minimum wage, but it's, in sales, it's not technically minimum wage. But in the industry that I was in, I felt like it was minimum wage. So I was like, I know I'm worth more than this position. And I started to realize, man, like, in any corporation, they're only going to pay you what the position is worth. They're not going to pay you what the person is worth. Does that make sense? So, like, yes. At that point, I was like, bro, I need to figure out what the heck is, what's next, what I want to do. And I started figuring out, like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go and pursue this thing full-fledged. And it's been phenomenal for me and my family, man. It's provided my wife with the opportunity. She's a teacher, but she'll be retiring at the end of March because of the income and things that we got coming in from our business through the network marketing side. And also supplemented through some of the speaking side as well. But it just created so many different options for me, man. It exposed my mind to a lot of different opportunities. And it also exposed me to amazing people, right? We talked about it a little bit pre-recording, but your network equals your net worth. And the network of people that I have now, man, it's phenomenal. I can go literally to any city and sit down, have coffee with a multimillionaire. And not a lot of people can say they can do that, right? And that's all it is having access to people who think. Like, I pay Warren Buffett $1 million for 30 minutes of his time just to know what he knows, right? Mm-hmm. It's all placing that value on what the knowledge that other people have and being able to have access to those people to ask them questions so that you don't fall in the same mistakes and stuff that they made, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things to touch on there. And I mean, your personal development really plays into your business development, but yep. The way that he approached you, I think, is monumental in sales in general, because you're doing sales, and you're 9 to 5 right now. And you know what? I've done sales. I'm a reformed car salesman, and you know what? The people that were dependent on the income. Mm-hmm. Nobody bought from them because they could sense the desperation. They could sense, hey, come join my team,
Exactly.
It's like, no, that's not for me. But the way he approached you made you intrigued. And you know what? You can do the same thing in sales in general. It's like, I don't necessarily need your sale, but hey, this would help you. So if you want it, you want it.
Exactly. When you think about network marketing as a whole, Trent, to be honest with you, man, it's all about the approach. I mean, if your mindset is more so I'm creating business partners and not just people that's, like a part of my team, my downline or whatever. If you think every single person that you talk to is a potential business partner and you treat it like a true business partnership, like if it had a contract and everything else, right? Then you'll probably be a lot more selective on who you work with. Like there's people, you probably never heard this before. I don't know if you have from different network marketing people, but I turn people away. Like if we're not gelling, if we're not on the same page, if you're still immature, don't really want to get your life together and everything else, you're not willing to adhere to like some very simple habits that I need you to create, I have no time for you, bro. Like I just told you all the things that I got going on, like I don't have time to be spending with these individuals who are not willing to invest in themselves. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, I can't invest my time with you. So it's a very different mentality, man. I think, like I said, a lot of people in network marketing as a whole, they just think like, I just need these people to be a part of my team so I can hit this goal, this quota. Well, I'm in for the long haul. I don't need a quick fix. I want for the team that I build, the legacy that I have, I want that to be sustained for generations, right? So I want to make sure I get in business with the right people, the right families, the right connections. Because otherwise, what the heck am I doing it for? I don't want to build something with somebody and then they go make stupid decisions and then that whole team crumbles, right? I want to be with people who have character, they have integrity, they're honest, I can trust them, right? And those are the people that I want to build and do life with because I'm going to see them for the rest of my life. It's a business partner. So it's a completely different mindset. I think the process that we take people through is longer than most people's process. And people got to be patient. You got to be patient with me because I'm not going to – it's just like, some people in network marketing, they like, oh, just come join my team. You met somebody a day ago, and then the next thing you know that you're in business with them. And it's like, I don't even know you. Like, no, we got to slow down. I want to know about you. I want to know about your goals. I want to know about what motivates you. I need to know all these things before I start investing my time and being in actual business with you.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And like you said, if you approach it like a business partner relationship, you don't just rush into those sort of things in general. So
exactly. It's like showing up on the first date, with a potential girlfriend or whatever else. And you just show up like, oh man, you look good. I want to get married. Like, what the like, nah, bro. Where's all the stuff that's in between, dog? Like, there's a lot of things that needs to be communicated here.
You don't understand the culture here in Utah. That kind of happens, all right?
No, believe it or not, that actually happened with me and my wife. I told her, but I call it a God story, but it's just a wild story. Long story short, I wrote down a list. I was recommended by my mentor, Evan. He said, write down a list of all the things that you want in a woman, right? Not just physical traits, but everything, characteristics, personality, all this other stuff. I wrote my list. It wasn't as long as some as I know, but it wasn't as short as some as I know either. But it had, I think, 78 things on it, right? Like bullet items that I wanted in a woman. I met my wife. We had dinner on a Monday night, and I was just checking off everything on the list. I was like, God damn, she got everything that's inside of this thing, like everything that I wanted. And by the end of the night, our date was 11 hours long, right? We just sat and chatted in the parking lot for 7 of those hours, right, after we had dinner. And I was just like, bro, I already know I'm gonna marry you. And she was, I would say she wasn't completely like, oh my gosh, you creepy. But I can tell she was like, hold on, buddy, right? But about 2 weeks into it, she was like, okay, yeah, I definitely understand this is going to happen. So we only dated for like 7 months, or dated for 6 months. I proposed. We got married 7 months later, and we've been married for 3 years now. So it's still working out well.
well, good. Congratulations to you. That's honestly, that's the more typical Utah story right there. So you fit right in here. So
perfect. I'm welcome in the Midwest then.
So I wanted to talk about, you're trying to create this legacy to be able to exit the 9-to-5, and you've broken this generational curse. When is it that you decided this is your path forward? This is how you're going to, escape the 9-to-5?
So as soon as I got connected to Evan, I knew that was like the network marketing was my way out. And it's always has been. And even as I started learning more about network marketing, the opportunity it provides, as you build it, like once you build it once, you don't have to go out and redo it again if you do it the right way, right? So it became, back in 2015 at 22 years old, I was like, this is it. This is my vision. This is my ticket. This is how I'm going to create the lifestyle that I wanted to create when I played in the NFL, right? or when I wanted to play in the NFL because I didn't actually make it. So that was that. I think that was definitely my exit strategy. And then obviously along the way, I was just like, bro, there's so many different things that I can be doing to supplement income. So I realized, so for those of you guys who don't know how sales work, a lot of people envious of salespeople. They live these luxurious lifestyles and everything else. And I would say it's true to an extent. It really depends on the industry and sales in which you're in, right? Me being in office equipment sales is not very luxurious. It's very it's lucrative, but it's not amazing, right? And I say that from a standpoint of when you're in sales, you have to cover the overhead of everybody else when you sell your products, right? So say, for example, I just sold a deal that was $60,000, right? $60,000 in revenue. What I got paid in commissions was only about $3,000, right? So you look in the grand scheme of things, it's like, what the F? Like, how did it go from you sold something for $60,000, you only made $3,000, right? Compared to if I go and do a speaking engagement, I get my full speaking fee, right? So I can make more in 2 speaking engagements than I make in just doing, selling a $60,000 in revenue deal that took me 6 months, right? So these things started to reveal itself to me, and I was like, I mean, I can make so much more money in so much less time doing something that I actually prefer to do and building a legacy that I can leave behind for my kids, right? So I started to realize, like, okay, not only am I just going to do, Toshiba, not only am I going to do network marketing, but I'm also going to take this step and do this thing of inspiring others and being this youth speaker and being able to go back to schools and colleges and being able to provide an income, but also have an impact because of all the different people that you have a chance to now connect with. So that became my entire MO. I started to look at these numbers. I'm a very number-driven dude, just like how numbers work together. And I started to realize, like, bro, I can make so much more doing the exact same thing that I'm doing for my 9 to 5 right now. If I had that same time to dedicate to speaking, I could be making 10 times the amount that I make right now, just being able to speak at different schools and colleges. And that was mind-blowing to me. So I was like, I'm going to do that. And it's been very great to me since I made the decision back in November of 2019. I came out in 2020, had a bunch of speaking engagements. COVID hit. We started moving those physical engagements to virtual engagements. I had a lot of flexibility since I came out with my book that came out in April. It went to Amazon bestseller, so that also was something else that I had to add to the repertoire. And now I loved it because I was able to leave a piece of me behind with students because I wasn't able to say everything that I say inside of my book inside of a 20 to 35 minute keynote. So it was perfect to be able to have that and be able to leave it behind and also have contact information inside the book for those kids to reach back out if they had any other questions too. So I know that was a long-winded way to answer your question. However, that was the path, man. He started in network marketing in 2015, was exposed to some of the thought process, the mindset, and then the numbers game started to come into effect. And I was like, bro, I'm an entrepreneur. I already know it. Let's just rock and roll.
Yeah, no kidding. No, that was really cool. I love that you were able to, pivot real quick with the speaking engagements. And then also I love the touch of the book, throwing that in there too. And, being able to expound upon what you said and then, create that conversation with them afterwards too. So
absolutely.
That's a good way to stack it.
Exactly. What do you call it? Complementary products, right? Or complementary sales, whatever you call it. So it's just an aspect, man. Like that's one of the coolest things for anybody that's out there. So like say, because I know a lot of people that would love to do public speaking as a side hustle, right? And I'm not telling you in order to be a speaker, you don't have to be an author, right? It's not necessary. But I can tell you just a quick gem, right? What I've learned is that if you're speaking inside of the youth and college markets, right? Most schools don't have a budget for a speaker, right? Like you just talked about a friend that cut all assemblies and everything else, right? But the majority of schools have a book budget, right? So something that you can do is if you have a book that's written, you can reach out to a counselor, principal, whoever else. You can tell them like, hey, I'm willing to come and speak at your school for free if you're willing to buy X amount of books at this wholesale price of this, right? And then you sell your book because they have the budget for books that's supposed to be coming in. But now you get to go and have a speaking engagement based off a book that you wrote, right? And be able to have that income that's now coming in, but you waive your speaker's fee, but you're getting paid the profit from the royalties on your book. So that's another way, again, to just, again, you don't know what you don't know, right? But there's a quick gem for anybody who's trying to go out there and speak, and you're an author as well. It's a very simple way and effective way to get inside of schools and really have an impact inside of these different communities that you speak inside of.
Wow, I love that. I love that knowledge that I wouldn't have known that if I was looking to do a speaking engagement. It's like, oh, we don't have the budget for it. Oh, okay. Well, it's not the right fit. But
Right.
you found the way. That's awesome.
Hey, you got, and it's tricks you learn from the trade. Like I actually learned that from a guy's name is Arel Moody. He's a very successful youth speaker that's in the Syracuse, New York area. And, I always give credit where it's due, but I know that was passed down to him from somebody else, one of his mentors. So it's that network, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. So you got to get exposed to different people who are doing what you're trying to do and then learn from them, right? Like, I talk about that actually inside the book. It's all about finding mentors. And your mentors don't have to be physical people. It can be reading from books. It could be online courses. It could be all these different things that people put out there today. They could become your mentor. You don't have to physically talk to them on the phone to call them a mentor. You can get so many different ways of getting that information and know who that person is. And then eventually, being a part of their tribe, I'm pretty sure they're going to want to get to know who you are, especially if you created success with their system or with their work or whatever else. So, yeah, that's just free nuggets out there. I'm just throwing out free nuggets right now, Trent.
Yeah. So, I mean, I appreciate that first and foremost, but it sounds like, you've got all these stories of success, of things you're doing to improve things. And you know what, you're accelerating now, it seems like, even in this COVID era. But the question is, what would you say has been your biggest failure in starting a side hustle, and what did you learn from it?
So I love that you asked that question, because I think most people are afraid to fail, right? And first of all, I want to tell the difference between failing and failure, right? I think failing is necessary in order to create success. You only become a failure if you quit, right? I don't want you to become a failure, but I want you to fail a lot. And the more you can fail as often, the better, right? Because you're going to learn so much stuff. Like John Maxwell got a book, Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn, right? Not lose. Because when you fail, it's a good thing. It's necessary for you to create success. So for me, my biggest failing, right? I call it, failing forward, whatever you want to call the term, bro. Like my biggest thing for me was, like I said, at 22 years old, 2015, when I came into this network marketing industry, Evan was telling me all these things that I should be doing. And, and he had at the time was 13 years of experience inside of the industry. So I should have listened, verbatim to what the dude said. But me just being who I am, I was like, no, I'm going to take what you said and I'm going to put my own spin on it, right? Instead of just following the blueprint. And I made a lot of mistakes, man. I basically talked to some different people and communicated the wrong stuff, disclosed too much stuff, basically word vomited on some different people. I didn't pick up books soon enough. I wish I picked up books a whole lot sooner than I did. Different habits of listening to different audios and things like that. I wish I picked up those things sooner, because I felt as though if I did that early on, I wouldn't even be I'd be probably a year or so ahead than where I am right now, right? Income wise, mindset wise, everything. I'd have just been an overall just further along, because that time would have compounded much sooner than say 2017 when everything started to click. You see what I'm saying? So I think being a student of the business, right? So being a student, whatever business that you're getting into, was my biggest failing forward moment, because I wasn't a student of it. I came in with this mentality of like, I hear what you're telling me, but I'm gonna still do it my way, right? So I feel as though if you're getting into an industry, whatever that hustle may be, it could be woodworking, it could be graphic design, it could be podcasting, whatever, right? Figure out who's doing a really good job at it. I don't want you to talk to the dude that just started 2 weeks ago and they're having struggles just like you, right? Go talk to somebody who's been successful at whatever that you're trying to pursue, and then follow what they do verbatim, right? Mimic it. There's nothing wrong with copying somebody else's system, because if they're successful at it, it means their system works. So don't be that guy that feels as though I got to be self-made, I got to do it all on my own. Trash that, bro. Like you can't do anything on your own. It's actually impossible. If you're going to do anything in life, it's going to take people to get there. Okay. So figure out how to mimic that, submit your ego let that thing go and start to figure out like, okay, I can learn from these people. I can get better and start flat out pursuing it, bro. Don't be like me, hard-headed, thinking that you need to hard charge it and fail it all on your own. Like I'm so thankful that I picked up this habit of learning from other people so that I can stop making these stupid mistakes and I can get so much further ahead in life than, faster than saying taking 3 years to do something. I can do it in one because I learned from somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you were, might be a year or two ahead, but it's that compound effect. You might be 5 years ahead now in mindset and business and all that. So
exactly.
We've talked a ton about, the mindset and, your thoughts and your and how they translate to your actions. So where is it that you find that you do your best thinking?
That's a great question, man. In my car. So I love driving, right? Hence, I drive Uber. I'm in sales during the day. I'm outside sales. I definitely don't sit behind a desk. So it's driving, man. I feel like anytime I'm on the road, I got freedom to just do whatever, right? And don't get me wrong, my family is my biggest blessing, but being at home, I'm trying to spend time with them. So I'm not really thinking about all this other stuff at home. But when I'm in the car, I'm on my own, I'm to my own thoughts. I think that's when I get the majority of my juices flowing. And then I'm not recommending you do this, but I Google different stuff while I'm driving and different things like that to try to, leave notes for myself and all this other stuff. Because so many things just come to me while I'm driving. And I might be listening to a podcast, obviously, while I'm driving. Every once in a while, I might throw on some music and stuff too. But I think different things just hit me while I'm just in the car, looking through that darn windshield, and stuff hit me all the time. I'm just like, I got to write that down. Which I'm so thankful we have things like Siri and Google Assistant, because I'll just be like, hey, I can't say the thing, but hey, you make a note of this thing right now because I need to remember this when I pull over at some point, right? And then I just go back and reflect on those things, review it at the end of the day, kind of see what I can really run with, or what can I do right now? What should I divvy up and give to somebody else that's a part of my team, and kind of run from there, man. Just kind of do my thing.
Okay. Well, that's very cool. I understand, I sometimes get those thoughts while out driving and whatnot. So I can definitely relate to that.
Yep.
So we've talked about how, Eddie Thomason is basically the definition of the word hustle, but what would Eddie Thomason say is the definition of the word hustle?
Man, if I gotta put it in an actual definition, if I gotta give you the Thomason Dictionary of definitions of hustle, it's a constant grind towards your end goal in life. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it as that. Constant grind towards your end goal in life, right? And by whatever means necessary, as long as it's legal, right? So like for me, like I said, I'm spinning so many different plates, got on so many different hats. But I love the way Dave Ramsey says it, man. You got to live like nobody else so you can live like nobody else, right? Like, what I'm doing right now as a 27-year-old male, right? It's by the time I'm 30, 32, I won't have to be doing the exact same thing that I'm doing right now. My life is going to be significantly easier in the next 3 to 5 years compared to maybe the person that's 27 years old and all they're doing is working a job, right? Because that job can change, circumstances can change, whatever it may be. But I can't fire myself from business. So therefore, I'm gonna get. You just got to keep on doing the work and just trust, man. Like I'm a huge faith guy, so you got to trust that the work that you're putting in right now is going to produce fruit. Something that my mentor Evan says all the time is, do not dig up in doubt what you planted in faith, right? The work that you're doing right now, it's all seeds being planted, right? If as long as you're planting seeds, the harvest is coming. You can't knock on a farmer's door as soon as he plants his crops and nothing's grown yet and be like, hey, bro, I don't think this thing is working out for you. Like, it's going to take time, bro. Crops don't come up in a day. But if you keep on planting your seeds, you keep on nurturing that soil, you'll keep on doing those things, which is basically making positive, consistent decisions over time, then those crops are going to come up and the harvest is coming, man. You just got to keep on going. The battle ends with you winning. So, that is my definition of hustle. Long-winded, but
I loved it. That was perfect. But knowing that you have so many things going on, I don't want to take too much of your time. So I'm going to give you a chance to plug where people can find you, find more information about you before I jump into the last question.
Awesome, man. And I don't mind this at all, Trent. Like I said, I think when like-minded people get together, I can sit here and chat with you all day because it's also, it fuels me, right? I think the biggest thing is you got to have those different people in your life that continues to give you life, right? Okay. And that's definitely something that you do. It's something that you do with your podcast, so I appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate Thomas getting us connected as well. But people can find me primarily on LinkedIn. That's where I do the majority of my social time. That's where I spend my time, I guess, on a social media type of platform. That's where me and Thomas met. So this conversation is a byproduct of LinkedIn. And if you want, you can also follow me on all the other ones as well. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all those different things as well. But if you want communication, primarily just reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend the majority of my time. And if you feel as though you can connect with me directly, here's what I tell people all the time. I'm just a regular dude, man. Like, you might be listening on the other side of this podcast right now and thinking like, dang, bro, this dude's so far along. Like, I'm so intimidated by him, whatever else. What you'll learn, I'm a jolly green giant, okay? I'm just a regular dude. Don't put me on a pedestal. So I'm going to give you my email as well. If you want to send out a message to me directly, just go to Eddie Thomason at EddieThomason.com. So that's EDDIE at EDDIETHOMASON.com, okay? Shoot me a message. I'm always here. If I can help, I will. And if I can't, I'll definitely connect you to somebody in this amazing network that I have, especially including guys like Trent, so that you guys can have some help in whatever endeavor that you're pursuing as well. So that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include some links in the show description so people can connect with you a little bit quicker. But, I know I've got this one last question for you, but I want to find out, personal or business, what is it that excites you about the future?
Personal or business. So I got to cast a vision right now, Trent, because this has always been something that's on my heart. We talked about it before. My entire mindset is being a generational curse breaker, right? And what I'm most excited about is the impact that's going to be left on generations to come because of decisions that I'm making right now, right? Like, I told you I'm a big faith guy, so I strongly believe that the book that I've written, the book that I'm currently writing, and books that I don't know for the future that's also going to come out, it's not just for my family, right? Like, initially I felt like I started writing books because I thought about if I died, if something happened to me today, I wanted my sons to have something to always remember me by, right? Like, they can always go back and be like, my dad's advice is inside of this book. At least I can feel him, and he's tangible at least here, right? But as I started to write the book, I started to realize, like, bro, my kids will never go through what I went through, right? So they can't really relate to my background. However, there are millions of people who relate to my background exactly as it is, right? Growing up in poverty, single parent household, dad left, all this other stuff, all the odds stacked against them, blah, 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 right? And they're going to read my book and they're going to be like, God dang it, man, if this dude can do it, so can I, right? And that can happen 20 years from now, and that can happen 30 years from now, and that can happen 100 years from now, right? And that gives me life, man. Like, you don't know how many people, or my life has been changed because of some books that I read. Reading a book from somebody like John Maxwell, hearing a guy like E.T. the hip hop preacher, right? Hearing his story and like, dang, bro, like, if that dude can do it, so can I, right? And that's what I'm most excited about, is understanding this thought process of legacy and what legacy actually means, right? It's like, what are you doing today that's going to impact generations to come? And it's everything that I'm doing right now that's leading to that legacy, not just for my kids, but for my grandkids and my great-grandkids and all of their friends too, right? Because my kids are going to probably meet different people and play on different teams with guys that came from backgrounds like me, right? They're going to be like, man, your story really reminds me of my dad. Here's a book, right? Or here, let me introduce you to him. And now that kid that whole family, his generation, his life legacy is going to be changed because of a conversation that was had with me, right? Or with my kid, or with a coach of my kid, or whatever else, right? Like, that is so fulfilling for me. And it's not a me thing. I don't think it's just because of me. I think it's the story. It's the redemption that God brought for me, being this kid in this environment that grew up here, and the testimony that now comes because of it, because of his provision that he had over my life this entire time. So I think that alone, bro, that's what I'm most excited about. I think it's one of the most fascinating things every single day that I get up, because it's like, bro, somebody is not even born yet that's going to be impacted by these books or by this speech or by this tape that I'm recording or this podcast that we're recording right now, right? You may not know it now, but 20 years from now, somebody else is going to be impacted by it and it's going to help them make a different decision, become a better person, live a better life. Like that's wild to me.
Wow. What an impactful way to end the podcast. So that sends chills down my spine. That was awesome. So
I got some goosebumps over here too, man. It gets me excited, riled up every single time I think about it.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? That, like I said, perfect way to end that. I know I've gotten a ton of value out of this. So I know my audience has gotten value out of this. So I encourage you all to get out there and hustle the day.
Hey, thanks for listening all the way through. Sincerely appreciate it. But hey, since you're here on YouTube, I have a favor to ask. If you got any value out of this podcast, and I know you did, go ahead, hit the subscribe, the like, and the bell notification buttons. That sincerely helps us out, and I truly appreciate anybody who does that.